Hello, fellow wanderers, and welcome to today's episode of I Hate Studying, but I Want to Be a Doctor. I know a lot of East Coast schools are still in, my school's still in, my finals are next week, and so I wanted to go over a method that I really love for when you have a decent amount of time to study and want to learn everything. Here's a Pinterest post that I found, and so truly and aggressively do I agree with it. I was in AP Euro, and I went into the first test, and it was a geography test, and she had given us this game website, and so I know where every country in Europe is, map and list of names, and I can put all the places where they need to be. In France, Germany, and Poland. I felt like I was cheating, and that was the first time I had ever really studied for a test effectively, and feeling like you're cheating on tests by just how much information you know is one of the best feelings that I have ever had. It is magical, hence my interest in the Pinterest post. And so I wrote down my personal method for how I do it. Unfortunately, seeing as I do want to be a doctor, my handwriting is completely illegible to most people. So, I'm gonna go through it with you. Step 1. Okay, and I say step 1. This is more of a conditional. If you want to do this method, you do kind of need a study guide of some sort. Kind of. This is a study guide I was given by my French teacher. Incredibly unhelpful if you don't like this method or if you don't have very much time. And then I also have this 7-page packet from my science teacher. So both of those things will work, and if you don't have a teacher that gives you a study guide, it's going to be more work, but what you can do is you can flip through all of your papers and figure out the main concepts that you were taught throughout the year, semester, however long you're being tested on, and figure out what those topics are that you're going to need to study and make a list. I have one. Just a cutesy little list of the main things you need to know for your class. And put everything on there, not just the things that you know you're going to be able to do, because one of the hardest things about studying and studying well is you have to relearn the things you don't really know. So I'm going to start by explaining how I would do it with a study guide or a packet of some sort that is in-depth and has practice problems already on it for you. First step, if you have a proper study guide, going to kind of be a base for what we're going to end up building it into, which is a much bigger study guide. Again, this is going to take probably 6-7 hours of studying overall. But the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your study guide and you're going to do it. And you're going to answer all of the questions and you're going to fill out all the information that you possibly can. You can use notes, you can use Google, you can use your teachers. You can see I was asking for a teacher's help on one of these. Use whatever resources you need. Just mark everything that you needed to use resources for and couldn't do off the top of your head. Then go back, check all your answers. See how you did. This might make you feel great, this might make you feel awful. When you go through your study guide the first time, you should mark down any questions that are hard that you don't fully understand. Step 1, part 2. Redo your study guide, same study guide, without the notes. And then check your answers again. You'll probably have done significantly better because that first run through with the notes in the Google has refreshed your memory a little bit on everything you need to know. The next section is where you can now bring in that really kind of awful crappy study guide. You're going to make a list of every single topic covered in the study guide. For example, we have formula writing, naming compounds, and chemical equations. I go more specific than that. My little list for chemistry was chemical naming, balancing equations, nuclear equations, sorting equations, or naming equations, whichever makes you happier. Mole equations, limiting factors, or with mole ratios. And I've not actually finished this packet yet because I'm filming this video instead of studying. I'm thriving and definitely want to be doing this. You're going to make your little list, and then if your teacher gave you a list, you can just use that instead. Now, this is the part that's going to really suck. You're going to go online and find a worksheet or practice problems for every single thing on that list. And you're going to create a document, print it out, whatever makes you happy. And now go through and do all those practice problems. And then check your answers on this. And this should take a while. We had 7 units. I would say you should be spending 15 minutes to half an hour on each unit. Again, this is if it's a subject you struggle in, your grade's not great, you want to do really well. You want to know every single thing on this test. This is not a study method. If you're like, I mean, I could pass with an A in my chemistry class if I got a D minus, but I do want the best. And I also want to see how well this method continues to work for me as I'm going into my senior year where I'm taking every single class as an AP, because that'll be miserable if I can't study. On to our final step, step 3. You're going to come back to that study guide your teacher gave you, and you're going to do it again with no notes. So now you've done it 3 times. The first time with notes, with help, you were like, oh, I don't really know a lot of this. Second time, you probably did better, but maybe not great still. Now this time, you should have it down. You should look at the problem and just be like, boom, 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 done, and I can elaborate. It's not easy to get to a point of study like that. And if you can't, don't worry about it, because you've probably just studied for several hours, and you shouldn't feel bad about yourself for studying for several hours, because that was a good thing you did. And now this is the last time that you're doing it. You should go through and mark down any questions that are still hard and find more practice problems for them and try and push yourself harder for those things as well. And again, this does work better for chemistry, well, not necessarily chemistry, sciences. It might work for history. I don't think it would work too well for English, and it might work for math. I hope these tips helped. I hope this is a study method you try at least once. You obviously don't have to go as aggressively as I'm going to be, but have fun with it. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you can learn something from this. And good luck on your finals.